Gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all times.
On the fence. I'm on the fence.
We don't need to
we left hook from Yaoundé came and landed on him,
So brilliant. Well, Randy, thank you for taking the time. Welcome to the interview with the King's Court MMA. How are you doing today? How are you doing?
Doing great, Marty. Just getting ready to head up to Seattle. I've got a big charity ride there tomorrow. That's where I grew up. I grew up in Seattle, about 40 miles north of Seattle, Washington.
Nice.
I started a foundation for wounded combat veterans about 15 years ago, back in 07, 08. And This will be our 4th or 5th year doing a charity motorcycle ride up in the Seattle area, all for the foundation. So it should be fun.
Oh, nice, brilliant. No, that's really well done. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. And then after that, I'm guessing you'll be prepping for the start of the playoffs in San Antonio and New York, obviously, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited about that. Obviously, August 4th is San Antonio. The first playoffs in the featherweights and the light heavyweight division kicks off. And then the next 2 shows are Madison Square Garden in downtown New York City. So both those should be a blast.
Nice, exciting times for the PFL. I've recently, attended both of the European events. First one in Newcastle in the UK, and then this past weekend in Berlin. And you guys are doing something special, not just in the US, I can say. So kudos to you.
Yeah, we're excited about that. Obviously, the Newcastle show sold out pretty quickly, and I haven't heard yet how it went in Berlin, but what an iconic place to have some fights in Berlin. I can't imagine. That was amazing. I got to wrestle there years ago when it was still East Berlin, when I was stationed in Germany. So Berlin's an interesting place.
Indeed. There's a lot of culture there and a lot of history, as you said. So where the arena was just probably about 150 meters from where the wall used to be dividing East and West Berlin. So I think the press and the media got a lot of opportunities to take pictures and face to face with the fighters in front of the wall. It was really something special. It was really good. But looking forward to obviously the first playoffs in San Antonio. Main event, it will be a tasty one, I think. Featherweight matchup between Bubba Jenkins, perennial championship contender, and obviously the surprise package of this season in Pineda. What do you think of this one?
I mean, it'll be interesting. We're seeing a much improved Bubba Jenkins. His striking has always been solid. He has that Division I wrestling prowess, and he uses that very, very well. But he's developed the confidence to let his hands go and be a little more effective in that striking, and I think that's changed the way he fights. Jesus Pineda, rather. He surprised everybody in taking out Brendan. I mean, that was a shocker. What a crazy event, and that knee right up the middle. I think the entire stadium was shocked when he went down. And Brendan's an amazing competitor. I know he'll be back strong as ever, but I was kind of looking forward to seeing him and Bubba get after it again and see if Bubba could get one back. Honestly, now it's Jesus, and man, he deserves it. He did a great job to put himself in that position.
Oh, massively. And the same really, I was maybe hoping for a Brendan Loughnane win there. I'm from the same part of Manchester in England that he is from as well. So I've been following Brendan for a while. But Pineda obviously took the opportunity with both hands. And I believe that's what obviously the playoffs the regular season and the playoffs is about in the PFL. It's creating exciting matches, and is that the aim for the PFL in terms of this season and how it's laid out to create these opportunities?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting format, putting mixed martial arts in a true sports format with a regular season, a playoff, and a championship every year. I think that puts the destiny of these fighters and whether or not they make it to the playoff and get a shot at that championship in their own hands. It's a meritocracy, and I really like that. It's not about publicity stunts. It's not about who talks the most crap. It's about who actually goes out there in that cage and scores points and wins fights. And I think that's the way it should be.
Nice. Nice, and it's yeah. A lot of people have different opinions in that format, but for me, it's about the form of the fighters, like how well they are fighting at the moment in time, and how
Yep.
consistent they can be over an extended period of time. Which yeah, I like it for as an observer and as a spectator. It's a really
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
fun. You get a rooting interest in, the guys that are edgy and the, you want to root against, and the guys that you like and you relate to, and you get a chance to root for them through a whole season and see how things shape up. And I think it adds another layer to the traditional prize fighting model with this format.
Indeed, definitely. And then also, I think as the co-main, we've got obviously Josh Silveira versus Ty Flores, which again is
Yeah.
going to be a exciting one at light heavyweight. Josh has obviously had first 2 round finishes in the regular season
Yeah.
this year. I think the last one obviously was I think it was a stoppage, obviously because of the knee injury to his opponent. But he's looked
Yeah.
really good in there. And Ty obviously he's won 4 in a row now, and
Yeah.
I think he took that opportunities from the obviously disqualifications from the other light heavyweights at the time. But yeah, how's things shaping in the light heavyweight scene at the moment from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. Josh, obviously, I think got a lot of confidence making it all the way to the finals through the Challenger Series last season, and
Yeah,
coming up a little bit short for the title. But man, I feel like he's really coming into his own. He's got his feet under him. He's got an amazing head on his shoulders for a young kid at this stage of things. For him, I think he's very, very promising, and shows a lot of ability and talent. He's literally grown up, in the gym, in the MMA setting with his dad, Conan Silveira. And I think that just now at this age, he's kind of coming into his own. He's getting his feet under him, recognizing just how much skill he has. He's got a great fight IQ. He's a fun one to watch. Flores is a bit of a dark horse. I don't think anybody expected him to come into the season and make it as far as he's made it. And here he is. He's in the playoff. He's literally one match away from being in a title fight. It'll be interesting on the other side of that. Impa Kasanganai and the Swede, or the Norwegian rather.
yeah.
I think that's an interesting fight as well, tactically and technically. See who comes out of that one as well.
Massively. And I think Impa's had some very exciting fights in PFL, and even just watching his journey from obviously he was in the UFC at one point, and obviously that highlight reel knockout that he was on the receiving end of, unfortunately. But the way that his career has turned out now, I think when he say everything happens for a reason, I really think that his career and trajectory actually is that statement personified, really.
Yeah,
In
and Hamill is, just this raw physical specimen that's starting to figure out how to put his wrestling and that fight IQ into the cage and into those situations. He's tempered his conditioning a little bit. He's not quite as wild as he was in some of those early fights where he got gassed.
Yeah.
He's a big, physical, strong guy, and I certainly understand his background coming from the Greco-Roman wrestling. That myself, Dan Henderson, Matt Linland, there's been Chael Sonnen, there's been several of us that came from that particular style of wrestling. So, it makes me root for him a little more just because we have that common background. But I try to stay as objective as I can.
Indeed, it must be a hard job that trying to stay objective when it's going to be pulled to the different ways and whatnot. But no, fair play. And then talking about the Greco-Roman style of wrestling, how do you think that actually compares to I would say the Sambo style that you see people from Russia and Dagestan are implementing? What's the differences to you, and how do you think they compare?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of similarities. Obviously, I think in Greco, all we have is a singlet. We don't have a gi or a jacket to grip or hang on to, and that's the big difference in the two styles. And we've learned in Greco to manipulate the human body, all those little nooks and crannies and knobs on the human body. We find ways to hang on to that and throw guys and knock guys down from there. Where in judo, in sambo, you have that jacket. You learn those grips and you learn to throw guys and that's the biggest difference in the two styles. But they both translate. I mean, look what Kayla Harrison's done in judo. Look what Nathan Schultz has done with his judo. Caro Parisian was an amazing judo practitioner. Obviously, Ronda Rousey, used her judo very, very well. We're seeing a lot of, master of sport combat sambo world champions like Dennis Goltzoff and McNaughton, that both came from that world, that have translated that experience and that mat time into a very significant fighting style. And some, they're both going to be forces to be reckoned with and deal with because of that experience.
No, definitely. You mentioned Cairo there as well. I remember Cairo after he won a fight in the UFC, he started to singing afterwards about his judo throws being the best. It was
He was a
great
character
content.
for sure, man. I had to work a lot with Caro, and he was an interesting guy. I was always teasing him, trying to get him to come out to It's Raining Men, to walk out to that song, but he would never do it. He would all just flip me the bird and say no.
That would have been mega. Oh, brilliant. And you mentioned actually the Challenger Series as well. Obviously, Aljosh Silveri came up. How important do you think the Challenger Series is to the development and the new upcoming fighters in the PFL?
Well, I think it's become pivotal. I mean, look at the guys that have come out of that Challenger Series and made it all the way through. Carlos Leal. There's been several. Josh Silvera, there's been a number of guys that have come through that Challenger Series, made it into the regular season, and made it all the way to the semifinals or the finals, which tells you there's a rich talent pool out there, and we're giving these guys an opportunity to show their skills, show their wares, and what they're capable of. And it's paid off, and it's been very interesting. On paper, you look at some of those fighters and like, look, this guy he doesn't even fit into the roster, and then they surprise you every single time.
Massively. And there's a chap in the heavyweight division, Abraham Babley, who's come through the Challenger Series, and he's fighting on the New York card, I believe, on the I think it's the 18th, if I'm not mistaken. He's from Manchester, fights out of Manchester top team, so again a local boy to me. I don't know if you've seen much of him, but what do you think of the chances of these guys coming through, and specifically Abraham, if not anybody else as well?
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to watch Abraham fight yet. I know who he is, and I'm aware of him, but I haven't really got the chance to break him down yet and watch him compete and see, kind of where his strengths and weaknesses might lie, and get a real honest opinion of his ability. But, we've seen several come through that Challenger Series and do it in stellar fashion. That adds, a couple fights to your season, which is a challenge. And that's the big thing, that PFL is managing those fights and potential injuries, managing those camps, front loading them so that you can turn around again in 6, 7, 8 weeks and fight again at the highest level you can. So that's the real challenge for him, to see how he deals with that, turning around and getting back in there, dealing with a new opponent, finding new ways to solve the new problem that's standing in front of him.
Nice. Hopefully it's a puzzle that he can fix there. And again, I want to take too much of your time. I know you're on a tight schedule. But just a personal question for you. How do you really manage your time? Obviously, you're still doing you're still acting at the moment in time. Big film coming out this year. You've obviously got your gym tour as well in Vegas, and obviously the work that you're doing with the PFL. How do you fit it in the day?
And it is a challenge for sure. My schedule is always my biggest challenge. Between the charity work that I do, the commentating with the PFL, and then chasing acting jobs all over the place. I'm squeezing in 6 days on a film called F+ while we're getting ready to go to these playoffs. I actually do this charity ride. I'll go to Orlando for 3 days, do 3 days on this film F+, then go to my charity ride up in Quad Cities, and I come back, do 3 more days on the film in Orlando. Then I'm in San Antonio for the first playoff, and then I go from San Antonio to New York and for the next 2 shows. So the next 6 weeks for me are just going to be insane, traveling all over the place. But I'm having a blast. I'm doing the things I love to do, things I'm passionate about. So I'm never upset packing that suitcase and getting ready to go. It's all good. It's all fun. It is juggling though. I feel like a master juggler. I have to keep all these balls in the air. If one of them falls, then I got a problem.
Indeed. Hey, if there's anyone that can do it, it's yourself, Randy. Again, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. All the best in your charity ride and obviously in your acting as well. And hopefully look forward to speaking to you after the playoff semifinals.
You bet. I
Take care, my
appreciate
friend.
all the fans in Manchester. I got the opportunity to fight there back in '08 against Brandon Vera, and it was an amazing fight and a great experience. I really enjoyed the time I've gotten to spend in Manchester. I was just there last year for the big fan expo in Manchester as well, and that was a great
Yes.
experience also. A ton of amazing fans, as Brendan will allude to, in the Manchester area. You guys are sports crazy up there, and it's awesome.
Indeed. And sorry, one last thing from me. PFL Europe, Manchester. Please campaign for it, Randy. We've got a lot of talent coming out there. That's all from me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Absolutely. And I'd be happy to be back. So we'll see what happens.
Indeed. Thanks. All the best.
You bet, Marty. Be well.
All right, gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all times.
On the fence. I'm on the fence.
We don't need to talk about that.
Left hook from Yaoundé came and landed on him, you know, so